Hello gamers and welcome to today's video. It is going to be a video on probably my favorite light tank in terms of fun, and it got buffed pretty decently in 2.0 as well and makes for an extremely potent combination. Please do enjoy this video. Let me know what you think and don't forget to like and subscribe. So, I mean, we didn't really talk about it yet, but what really got changed on the Tesak, right? So this HP increase, we'll talk about that more in a second. Reload time got higher, but in return, you know, it loses shells and the magazine goes down as well. But this is the important factor here, right? So the AP damage goes from 12 to 16, so up by 4. So it's in a 33.33% increase. The APCR damage goes up and the HE damage goes up as well, right? AP gets, you know, a pretty decent, like, I mean, they all get a pretty decent buff out of it, but nonetheless, this increases the, well, not increases, it increases the, or it doesn't increase, it decreases the amount of time that you need to clip. And for a tank like the Tesak, exposure time is really everything. So less exposure time means you get your clip on target quicker. It also means that, you know, the bloom doesn't get as bad either because you're, you know, clipped quicker. And in general, for this type of tank, that is probably the most important aspect. When the Tesak was initially released, I think they made it in a way that they were probably afraid of how potent it could be, especially that HE that's able to one clip an FE 4005, for example. And then, you know, realized pretty quickly on, I guess, because this line hasn't been out for that long, that okay, maybe it's not as big of an issue as we think, because, like, yeah, it will have those magical battles, but most of the time its effectiveness is not going to be that high, and people still like it because it's fun, so we can buff this and get away with it. So the fact that you have way less exposure time now to clip out is amazing for this type of tank. And of course, this is the general thing that we haven't really talked about, but Brawl lead lights benefit the most from this vehicle durability buff, you know, like stuff like even the Wheezy light, the 13105, the Sheridan, and the Tesak. Like, light tanks that brawl more are way more useful with extra HP. Like, sure, Manti with extra HP is really cool and all, but it's not really effective HP because you're not really ever fighting with the tank. You're always playing as a silent assassin. So for a tank like the Tesak, the combination of the extra durability on top of the exposure time is a great combination. Like, it really adds to the gameplay of the tank and to the expected output of it as well. So I think for the Tesak, these changes were honestly amazing and made a fun tank even a little bit more fun, which you will see in the gameplay. So the thing about the Tesak is, I think this is probably the most fun light tank I've ever played in my life. Now, in terms of spotting, if you play the Tesak to spot, it's going to be awful. You're going to hate yourself, to be honest. I don't think that Tesak is the kind of tank you want to play as a spotter altogether. And it is the kind of tank that you want to play simply as a damage dealer more than anything else. And if you use it as that, I think it can actually be very fun. So basically, this thing got buffed in 2.0, and what it does is it decreases the amount of time it takes you to clip somebody, which means that when you find something lowly armored like the RHM Panzer Wagon and you shoot HE at it, it dies kind of quickly. Yeah, this thing in the right battle, it honestly, it just shits on people. Like, it really just shits on people. It's crazy. And in this game on Halluf, you know, I run it down to the lower side, I kill an RHM, and now I'm running it down at the Leo as well, and like, sure, he's gonna shoot me, but you know, I got a little bit of extra HP in the patch as well, which is pretty nice. And I'm gonna get on his side, and then I'm going to violate the Leo as well. So, you know, it's just what we call a quick violation altogether. Unluckily enough for him, and the RHM and the Leopard 1, they met at the Tesak. And yeah, like I said, this is probably the most fun tank in terms of lights for me. Not as a spotter, but just like playing it as a damage dealer is actually kind of funny and can be very, very, very potent, to be honest. Like very, very potent, extremely potent. And because of that, you know, this thing can put up some crazy games. So together with the buffs to the exposure time needed to clip out, but like they increase the damage per shot and but reduce the clip size in return. The damage output is just crazy. I mean, look at that. That's the third 1500 damage clip and I don't know how much time, just absolutely dunking on numerous players in this battle that have no armor whatsoever. They cannot really do anything about it, and as a result, they end up dying. On distance, of course, it's a bit more difficult to get success, and I used my HE clip there, which probably was a mistake because I don't have enough bullets for another HE clip, and I do still have an FV, but you know, I got 5.1k damage in a light tank, right? In a light tank. At some point, I was averaging 4k with this over like 10 battles, which is honestly crazy. So, you know, we had a quick Halluf battle, 3 minutes in, we have 5.5k damage. I mean, this is more damage than a lot of people will ever get in a tier 10 match to begin with, you know? Our ammo loadout is probably too much APCR, because you really only want to use APCR if you end up being in a scenario where you can't pen with AP or HE. But in general, the AP and the HE is the go-to. Yeah, I'm just spraying down the Manticore here. Not doing too bad damage, 452. It's a quick 6k battle on Al Halluf. And honestly, I think Tesak for many players can be a very fun tank when you accept that it's just a bad spotter. It really is just a bad spotter, and it's more like a, you know, some games may be cheap, some games may be good. Once you accept that the Tesak is not known for its spotting capabilities, but more like damage capabilities, your life turns around, you know? Do a quick clip to the Type 71 side with AP as well. Get 6.7k damage. I mean, you know, this is a very, 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 very good result for a light tank in a tier 10 battle, right? I think we can all say such a thing to be the case, right? I mean, when you're thinking about it. So we find the Type 71 once more. We set him on fire. We make a bad peak though against the VZ, and we actually end up dying. But in just 4 minutes, we've absolutely terrorized the enemy team. We've killed 2 tanks, we've done 7.6k damage, beaten a bunch of people's max damage ever. Definitely max damage in a light. So yeah, absolutely very, very fun tank to play, to be honest. So, second replay on the Tesak. This is on Serene Coast. And yeah, this tank, again, if you play this as a scout, it's probably not fun, to be honest, because it's big, it doesn't have great camo, it doesn't fit in many bushes. The gun is not made for, you know, quick taps, you need like long exposed burst. But once you forget about that, right, once you forget how the Tesak plays like a light, which it doesn't really, and embrace the Tesak that plays like a annoying little shitter, your life changes. Gorilla gets spotted out in the open. Sadly, nobody to shoot him, but it's okay. We'll just quickly auto-aim him for 400 damage. I found auto-aim very effective on these lowly armored targets. Instead of like trying to control the spray and whatever yourself, just auto-aim with HE and just like blast. There's a guy, of course, in front of me at that rock. He knocked him to 3. We're running away. And you know, there's a pattern in the back as well, so we gotta be careful nonetheless. But yeah, rat, sure, you could call it a rat, I guess, in a way. Why not? It's weird that I don't have anybody behind me though. Like normally there's a whole team sitting on F3, but in this case there's absolutely nobody. The thing is though, I would recommend Tesak to many players if you just want to have some fun with a light. But at the same time, people are going to flame you and complain about you when you don't play like a... When you don't play like they want you to play, they're going to be very angry. On pure spotting maps, you still have to play as a spotter, and you know your team will have a disadvantage because you know it will be like Tesak versus basically any other better light. But on like maps that are not really around spotting, you can be really really potent because I mean, look at this. I'm terrorizing them. Like I'm actually just terrorizing them. 2.6k damage, 700 assists, getting more assists as well. You know, but once you also like, you know, best advice on playing lights usually is to just disable the chat because, you know, people are just constantly like, light tank no spot, no spot, bro. You know, like it's super annoying. I can understand. This guy is not a paid actor, right? He just gave up because he's shooting in the air because he's trying to take down a plane, right? Makes sense. Still trying to stop the random event. Not paid at all. Not paid. Not paid. But I'm terrorizing them. You know, I'm absolutely ruining their backlines. Getting good damage, getting good assists, getting good everything, to be honest. And, okay, it may really look like these are paid actors, but let me tell you, this guy, he's just taking a siesta. Like my friend, the Spanish friend, OG, he's in the middle of a siesta. A siesta to relax. The fact that he's AFK or in a siesta doesn't matter. I would have still blasted him nonetheless. With my tanky tank, and you know, just putting some shots into him, having a good time, getting owned by 105 in return. But here I wish I had more HE. You know, like if I had more HE, I'd be doing a little bit more. So the ammo loadout on this is probably not ideal. Probably need more HE to have even better games. You'd be surprised how many tanks of rears are very, you know, weak and clippable, and you're able to go through pretty effectively. Like a can opener, for example, has a horrible back armor. That's pretty bad side armor as well, though. But you know, I don't know. I don't think it would be enough for HE. But you know, a quick 834 reloading. And the buffs that they gave it in 2.0 combined with the extra HP are just really nice for this tank, for this kind of gameplay, to be honest. Like, for the silent assassin kind of gameplay, it's ideal. It's honestly ideal. Like, 981 onto the 1305, you know. It's been another 4-minute battle in World of Tanks. And we've done a extremely good result. Right? If everything aligns and I load more HE, who knows, man? You might even be able to do 10k with a Tesak. You just need enough lowly armored targets that you're able to blast through, right? So, last but not least, potentially last, maybe I'll do one more. We'll see. There is another battle here on Pilsen, and Pilsen is quite hard to find and assassinate targets compared to like Halluf, compared to the previous battle we had on Serene Coast. It's not that easy to find something to assassinate. The map doesn't really lend itself towards it. I ended up going with the spotting equipment after all. I know it's a very late switch, but I was considering it, and it's like, yeah, you kind of want the extra spotting on this map potentially at some point. Going down zero line with a Tesak I find is pretty useless, to be honest. Like, I don't really see the point of doing it against a Manti and a T100. Two tanks with smaller size, better camo, better everything for pure spotting. That's why I said with a Tesak, you kind of got to change the way, in my opinion. And if you ask my good friend Ali, he'll say that I shouldn't give advice on anything related to spotting. But you got to play it kind of a bit different than you would a T100 Manti or such, because you are not the same level of scouting. Playing the same scouting way is probably going to end up with you losing more than you're winning. However, here, by going to the coal pits, which is definitely a pretty normal play, you know, we got a quick 1.6k assist because you have an alternative angle on them. They're no longer triple quad bushed against you. You're just, you know, seeing them from the side. And, you know, it's a pretty good assist. When you're playing this position, you want to be careful, of course, is the artillery, alright, and, you know, the balcony. So we peek it on third, and we actually outspot the Manti core, man. Call me spotter of the century, right? That is me, spotter of the century. But, you know, get the spot out against the Manti, push him back. And now when the Gorilla is no longer peeking, I'm deciding to push forward, because if I would be spotted, I'd be in danger of getting hit by the 183. Now, I'm chilling. I get 1.4k on the Gorilla, and I'm about to violate the T100's butthole like he just had Mexican food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Quickly dipping into the water here, you know, cosplaying the submarine, but not drowning myself, you know, so not the full submarine experience. And at this point, you know, it's time to blast, right? 1.3k damage, but look at the assist though. 3.8k assist. We saw the 140 run away, so we are going to go peek the Manti. And at this point, you know, we angle our armor so well that the FV doesn't pen us. That is not luck, fellas. That is skill, right? I understand that, you know, it's hard to replicate such angling because it's just that advanced. But one day, when you get as good as I do, you will be able to bounce the V shots in your Tesak as well. And the AV is going to be taught a lesson about why he should finish a job immediately. And people pay extra for the job to be finished because he's dead. He's just dead. Right? Just like that, he's dead. This is where we start the long rotation, however. And we could argue about whether it's a good or not rotation. Because, you know, pushing the guy at K5, K6 is super hard. And almost impossible. So we're just going to be rotating north. Because, why not? Maybe we can get some side angles on some tanks, find some side shots, why not? Like, what else are you going to do? Like I said, pushing a 140 on 57 HP is just not really possible. So why would we even attempt it? Time to become a silent assassin, maybe. Because if we get spotted, we're gonna die. So, just moving through the side here. The crown is open from where the 183 is. But I decided I want to close the distance a little bit because the Tesak does the Tesak does best in, you know, close range engagement still. And, you know, we start blasting on the side of the crown. We cannot overexpose too much though because, you know, we're a one shot. So we reload and get back into the fight soon enough. In return, the crown decides to YOLO forward though, which, yeah, I was gonna say it's probably not the best decision for him. Of course, I already knew that was gonna happen, but we're gonna pretend like it didn't. E3, can we make the kill, shooting him through the house? Yes, we can. You know, everything about this new and improved Tesak is just, you know, better than before. Like, the tank was already pretty fun, and I think the buffs just made it even more fun than it already was. Non-conventional light tank gameplay. So, you know, with that, the Tesak is great in that regard. You know, like, non-conventional light tank gameplay still can have really big damage output, nonetheless, and actually be very, very potent when it comes down to it. So don't underestimate somebody in Tesak, especially when you're playing those lowly armored tanks. You'll get a quick clip on the Kranwagen, and now I want to go and flank the IS-7. However, I will say that at this point, what I didn't notice is the E50M position. I thought he was behind the building, not in front of us. And we were not really looking at him. So he ends up putting us down. So this is like 8k combined, but could have been actually a lot more if I realized the E50. I was so focused on the 140 and the IS-7 that I did not pay attention to the E50M. There was some blind assist in this as well, but it could have been more. And that's the name of the game at Tesak. It can always be more, to be honest. Closing thoughts on this tank though. Like I said, a non-conventional light tank gameplay, very fun. You're gonna have very big games. It's very easy to die with as well because you want to get close to the enemy. In return, you can have some amazing, amazing battles though. Like, you can have some of the greatest games ever. As a pure spotter though, would not recommend. You know, like, as a pure spotter, there's no point in getting a Tesak at all. As you could see, the Tesak is a very, very fun light tank. The combination that it has of HP, gun depression, clip can make for some crazy battles in bullet tanks. As always, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys all for the very next one. Thank you for chilling. Have a good one. Peace.